that something? The prices.
Tote bags, $10. License plate, can koozies, 3 for $2. $3 or 2 for $5.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Wow, that's a nice check. That one.
Yeah, I got that check right here. The King.
I was there that night.
There's the King's Royal one. Sheldon gave me his first steering wheel from his first Outlaw feature.
That's cool.
He gave me that. That's pretty cool.
He was pretty good in a motocross bike, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had fun racing dirt bikes. That's the funnest I had. That one of the funnest ever.
Look at that promoter down there. What's that?
He said, that's fine.
Look at that promoter down there.
Yeah, promoter.
It's amazing he's got the time to stop counting the money from the Brad Doty Classic, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. Have you ever seen your life? Yeah, I kept all Sheldon's motorcycle plaques. I'll probably give him back one day. I kept a lot of his handlebars from big fucking endos.
So this is the tabletop for your grandson just there?
That's the tabletop right there for the grandson.
Yep.
I laid these boards down here. These boards they're bumps in the track, so.
Boy, that looks like he gets some pretty good height on that, Jack.
That's pretty good height there too before.
Well, he's only 3, right?
3.5.
Yeah, that's a long way off the ground.
3.5.
You like that? Happy birthday, Brad Doty.
Thank you.
See, we wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for Patty come in and just said that.
No. And I should have remembered too, because my daughter's birthday today, so.
Yeah, happy birthday, Raquel.
Yep. So Brad's on the same day.
So, what's going on in here, Jack? Seems pretty orderly. You're like, what are you doing all day?
Yeah, well, I don't do a whole lot. I work on these old trucks now and then, and watch the grandkid mostly.
Doesn't seem right to me, Brad.
Yeah, speaking of the grandkid, when's he going to start racing?
Yeah.
How old is he now?
Yeah, he's only 3.5, so I just took the training wheels off, so a little while before I can buy him a cart, I guess.
You have a beautiful bond with him already. I see a lot of the pictures that Raquel posts. You got a great bond with him, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's all good. We do a lot of babysitting, me and Patty, and have a lot of fun with him. So it's great, and we can send him home too. So
yeah, stir him up and send him home.
Stir him up and send him home. So it's all good.
That picture up there of Sheldon, Brad, he looks like he's like 12 years old.
Oh, I know.
Like,
He probably was.
Yeah, he was pretty young. I think first time I tested him in a sprint car, I think he was 15. So he made a few laps and.
He's got that Haudenschild gene.
He just picks it up from there.
They don't age much.
I know, the Jan Michael Vincent. That's what he always reminded me of, you know.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? Like you're just restoring cars and stuff?
Yeah. I mess around with old cars a little bit, but it's nothing like building race cars. Still my favorite thing to do.
Do you miss it?
Oh yeah. I'm going with Sheldon this weekend and watch him. So I get the fun of watching him. So that takes place of it.
Now, I watched you watch him make the transfer in that B main to the A at Knoxville, and you didn't look like you were enjoying that experience. It seems like it's gone full circle.
It definitely is. He gets my heart pumped up a little bit more than I did when I raced, actually. So, it's kind of hard to watch your kid race sometimes.
Isn't that interesting how life turns like that, Brad, right?
Yeah, now he knows what the rest of us want. All these years of watching him. Now
That's
he's
exactly
right. He's getting a
right.
taste of that himself.
So you old cars, is that your thing now, like the Ranchero?
Yeah, I do a little bit of work on them old trucks. Costs a lot of money to restore them old cars, so I don't get. I just do a little at a time.
It's my first time in Worcester. It's a beautiful city. Like it's pretty.
Yeah, we born and raised around here. We take a lot of things for granted. I'm closer to the Amish than even here in Worcester. It's only a 15-minute drive, but a lot of my neighbors are Amish, and the tourism business is really booming with the Amish. And it's something we grew up around, I mean, we both down in Millersburg is kind of the heart of Amish country, and we just got annoyed because they were always in the way going up a hill, and you had to follow them and that kind of thing, And now it's such a big booming. There's hotels built down in Amish country in the middle of nowhere. These big, beautiful hotels.
Oh yeah.
So
then you drive around them back roads and all the beautifulest farms you ever seen.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful country.
I saw an Amish limousine the last time I was down this way. It's like had like 8 people in the back, and it's like a stretch.
Yeah. They got them, and a lot of them don't have a lot of lights on it at night. You got to really be careful. It's easy to come up on them. So
we were talking before about how different life is, Brad, for these guys. Like for Sheldon and like you guys, what happened on the road stayed on the road, right?
Pretty much.
And now look at it.
Yeah.
Like everything's live, everything's streamed, everything's TikTok, Snapchatted, Facebook Live.
Yeah.
I think I prefer your era.
Yeah, I think so too. got to fly under the radar sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no escaping it, you know, like, and the corporate stuff is a lot of pressure. Like you suddenly, because people just get so reactive, Brad, and we were talking about that before as well. The world is so reactive now. If I disagree with you, I'm going to get on social media and tear you down.
Yeah, cancel culture's out of control, and you know, Jack, in our era, you know, I mean, we had disagreements or whatever, or if you had a big parking lot party after the race or went to the bar afterwards, you didn't have to worry about somebody with a cell phone camera filming something that you know you didn't want the whole world to see, kind of thing. And not that Jack or I would ever do anything like that, but you know, there are other people that did.
We never had to worry about that.
Was Brad a party boy or not? Like, he doesn't strike me that he ever really did that. Was he a wildcat occasionally?
Yeah, when we were younger, he was really a party guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Why am I surprised by that? I know I am surprised.
I tell people if I still had hair, I'd have longer hair.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Sheldon is doing an amazing job with so much pressure. Like, I think not so much, you know, that he's not good at what he does, because he's phenomenal, but he's got a high profile ride. He's probably one of the top 5 recognized drivers in the world. Did you see that coming?
Yeah, not really. You know, I mean, we just, you know, he ran his own team there after I got him going. He ran the 93 car for a couple of years on his own and learned what it was all about. And you know, we were hoping, you know, keep climbing up the ladder. So, yeah, he's fortunate to be where he's at, and I think he's real happy about it, and you know where he's at now. So
Brad used the term OCD when it comes to cleaning. Where does he get that from? Was that you as well, or?
I think he got a little of that off me, but he's way past me now.
He keeps that motorhome like immaculate, doesn't he?
He wants everything nice and clean. And,
yeah, he loves that.
When you're talking about social media, and Zan and people around him are, you know, really good about YouTube and social media. He does a great job. And, you know, any father-son relationship, or even a daughter that follows maybe their mom or even their dad's profession, has to have a lot of pressure, you know, for Sheldon to be Jac Haudenschild's son. You know, Craig Kinzer, all these second and third generation drivers. That has to add some pressure that they feel like they have to whether it's subconscious or it's there, they feel like they have to live up to. I mean, this guy's very successful, especially Eldora. I mean, the Haudenschild name and Eldora is synonymous. So I think, in my mind, Sheldon would have to have a little more, excuse me, a little more pressure every time he goes down.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I doubt you would have felt that, because there's a helmet up here I need to try and zoom in on, because that is the coolest old helmet just there. Looks like he's an astronaut, and it's got the name John written on the side. Isn't that? And Eddie Worth over there as well, which is one of the few things. So tell me about that helmet up there that says John on the side, Jack.
Well, my dad raced, well, my dad, I think, raced in the 53, I think. He raced cars, but he always ran bell helmet with the big bubble shield
like the
on
Speed
it.
Racer helmet.
Yeah, and the shield, I can remember as a kid, the shield was so scratched up, I don't even know how he seen to it, because they used to use a rag and just wipe them off. I remember him having a red rag. I do remember my dad racing as I was pretty young. But I couldn't find none of his helmets he had when he was racing, and I ended up finding that one at a swap meet, and it was the exact helmet he wore, so I ended up buying it and just putting a name on it. It says Magic Marker, but it's the exact helmet like he wore when he was racing. And my dad got me and my brother started racing, and my brother started a couple years before I did. So I had to watch my brother race. Me and Brad started about the same time, and then we didn't race much, not like these kids today. I mean, we didn't race 15 times a year. We got rained out half of them, so we didn't. It took us a long time to get started, 3 or 4 years till we really started racing. And you know, these kids now do 40 races in 1 year. But anyway, I wore a full-faced helmet, had a big hole in it, and I remember having my dad try it on one time, sitting in my brother's sprint car. I said, "Dad, try this on." And he put it on for about a minute, and he said, "I can't breathe in this thing." And he took it off, and I'm like, "You know, what do you mean you can't breathe?" I said, "It's just a full-face helmet." And he said, "I couldn't wear that." So it's pretty funny.
So isn't it incredible to think that, no disrespect, Worcester and Apple Creek, they're not exactly thriving metropolises. They're not Washington, D.C., they're not L.A., they're small town America. And here's two guys that traveled throughout the USA and the world with your racing, and you went to Australia as a broadcaster and as a personality. As kids, you would never have dreamed that you could travel the world like that.
Yeah, we really didn't. I mean, when me and my brother and Brad and Kent, when we started racing, we never even dreamed of racing for a living. We was just having fun on the weekends, and we just ended up racing more and more, just racing more, and then we started getting rides, and I don't even know when I'm like thinking I'm gonna race for a living, because never even thought about it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, make a few bucks doing this, so just keep doing it, and that's what we did.
Things just kind of fell into place. I talk about it in my book. Bobby Allen, excuse me, Bobby Allen and Dub May came to a little track in West Virginia. We were racing, and we really looked up. Well, Rick Ferkel from being from Ohio was the king of Ohio. But Jan Opperman was my hero, and a lot of the Pennsylvania guys, central Pennsylvania.
Bobby Allen, I ran around with Bobby.
Yeah, he got to know Bobby later years. But I remember Parkersburg, West Virginia, little podunk track down there, and I did think, I'd love to be able to make a living. Never wanted to get rich. If I could just pay the rent, driving a race car, sprint car, I was going to be happy. And I remember Dub May showed up, and the back in those days ran in and out box, and something was broke in it, and they raced the night before, come all the way there, and it was locked in gear, so they had to drag the thing all around the pits. He had to stomp the brake to shut it off. Anyway, at the end of the night, neither one of them did very well, and I look over and Bobby Allen's eating hot dog buns. Not hot dogs, just the buns. I talked to the lady at the concession stand to give him a pack of hot dog buns. And I thought, if that's what making a living driving a race car is doing, I'm not sure I want to do this or not. But that's, we just got lucky. A lot of things fell into place.
Yeah, I'd say we got lucky making a living doing it.
So this is pretty left of field, but do you remember the first time you saw someone wearing your shirt? Like, let's go way back when you very first started making shirts. And it's not a family member. Do you remember thinking, holy cow, someone's wearing my shirt,
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I remember I drove for so many different guys, and I didn't know what car to put on it, so I just put my helmet on. I was the first guy to put just a helmet on a shirt, and I just put my helmet on it with my name on it, and it ended up, I sold a lot of them helmet shirts, and I'm like, and it went big, and I was like, oh shit, you can make sell shirts too, so that's all right.
I imagine Brad is like a music artist hearing their song on the radio the first time. You must recall a time when you looked up and someone was standing there wearing your shirt.
That was a long time ago. I really.
But those people are investing in you. You know what I mean? Like, they're buying a T-shirt, and I don't know, what was a T-shirt worth when you guys were racing?
Oh, like $8 or something.
Yeah.
Like $10.
$10
right?
probably.
But Brad, that's a massive investment for someone, and it's a show of allegiance. You put that on, it's like waving a flag, right?
Yeah. I started running Western Pennsylvania is kind of what kicked the door wide open for me when I met Sam Bowers at Bowers Cole, and I had a big fan following over there, and that's probably my first real racing T-shirts were probably over there, and it's a 3-hour drive, but it's in another state, and in those days it seemed like a world away, from Lakeville where we started, So that's probably where I started selling T-shirts, where the fans started wearing them. But I can't recall the first time I saw somebody like, oh wow,
I can't. That's like people come up and ask me where I got my nickname, and I really never even.
Really?
I never knew it, and one of my old race competitors come up to me one time, Dick Barley, raced Lakeville, and he said, you know where you got your nickname? And I'm like, no. He said, I gave you your nickname. And I said, really? He said, I called you that from day one. So
really?
Yeah, Dick Barley did that, and it was just like, I never even knew that.
It confused people how to say your last name because it didn't rhyme. Wild Child, Haudenschild rhymed, right?
Shield,
and it's Shield, like a shield.
I tell people, think of windshield.
Shield.
Shield.
Ultra Shield.
It's real German.
And I still hear announcers.
Yep.
I'll hear the same announcer say it like with Sheldon, depending on if it's the lineup or during the race call, say it two different ways. Night in and night out. Sometimes it's Howden's Child and sometimes it's Haudenschild.
It's Haudenschild.
Haudenschild.
Have you ever given something to Jack and turned up somewhere completely different, Brad?
Oh yeah,
Is there,
yeah. He's like he's
Yeah, Brad.
he's like that, you know. He's,
like a hood or anything like that? Did
oh,
you ever
yeah,
like give him half a hood?
I ran a total of maybe 7 years my whole life, so I didn't have a lot of memorabilia. I didn't
Yep.
keep a lot of stuff, and but I did end up with a hood of Gary Stanton's car that Jack used to have hood sides. He'd cut them in half and hang sides up here.
Yep.
And had
Yep.
a bunch of different. So I had a hood, and I, being a nice guy, cut it in half and gave half to Jack. And it hung up here on his walls for several years, and next thing you know, he starts taking all that down. And a couple years go by, and a relative of mine lives in Columbus, and they're driving through a little podunk town here in Ohio, and they took a picture of my hood sitting in the yard at a garage sale, and I thought, that can't be real. Well, Jack gave it to his nephew.
I gave it to my nephew, and
He gave it to somebody else.
And it ended up in a yard sale. And Brad called me up and told me his hood's in a yard sale. I couldn't get over there fast enough to get it, so I got it back in my garage, and I can't give it away no more.
So I won't be giving him anything from now on. You can bet that.
You think about the t-shirts, how many designs the modern day outlaws have to have now. Like you would have had 2 or 3 shirts max every year back in the day.
Yeah.
And now look at them, they have to children's wear, infant wear, you know, ladies fashion, like, and they're all, and Zan's really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Like the women really are like, and you know, Patty, like
Yeah.
she ran your empire.
Yeah.
With that sort of stuff. And you're going to Knoxville like one last time? You're doing a Kiss farewell tour with the merchandise?
I guess one last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think about how much the t-shirt industry has changed, Brad.
Oh yeah, it's big. It's big business. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of arguments and a lot of fighting going on you know, for location of the trailers and who can get in, who can't. But you know, I mean, when I got hurt, we'd do about one design a year. You know,
Yep.
we're talking. These guys do one a month. It
Yeah,
seems
yeah,
like, you know, and they
exactly.
change
Yeah.
it up, and it's definitely bigger business now than when we raced.
Definitely is.
Did you say you only raced 7 or 8 years?
Total, I ran the Outlaw. Well, my first sprint car was in '78. I won it, my first sprint car feature. Ran about a half a season at Lakeville. In '79, I won like 13 out of 16 at Lakeville. And then 1980s when I ran Western Pennsylvania, and that kicked the door. I won the championship at Lernerville, Tri-City. Was Rookie of the Year at the All-Stars in '81. Rookie of the Year at the Outlaws in '82. Ran pretty much all of '83, but '84 and '85 I was just kind of hit and miss. And then it was '86 and '87 back at the Outlaws full time. Then of course I had my accident.
Full time for quite a while.
For a couple years, and so in '88 when I had my accident. But so I think it was a total like 4.5 years with the World of Outlaws.
Yeah, I didn't know really how long that was.
Yeah.
How long did you race for?
I really don't know solid. I had quite a few years solid with the Outlaws, but then a lot of years, you know, half a year to
Yep.
first getting started. You might get 30, 40 races in. I mean, but when I ran for Bob Hampshire
Yeah.
and Nickel, like Bob Hampshire ran me 80, 90 races a year.
Yeah.
And I did that for a couple of years, but Bob he was such a racer.
What a fantastic guy.
So
Hamp
great.
is.
So I raced as much as the Outlaws did. You know, their series before I raced the Outlaws. So
Max Dumsney has stopped racing regularly, but he's never said it's over, right? And I know it probably is. Max is never going to come out there and try to be a hero because he's got nothing to prove to any of us. Have you actually said, that's it, no more? Or you just get in the car somewhere?
No, I kind
or
of did. I raced till I was 63, and I knew I was just going to race, you know, long enough till I was ready to quit, and then I ended up quitting at whatever 63, and that's been a couple of years ago. So, yeah, if I didn't come back for Eldor this swing, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Has it been hard to let that go?
Yeah, but I get to watch Sheldon, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's got to make it easier, right? At least you got that family, you know, vested interest, yeah?
Yeah, connection. Yep. You know, and I remember, you know, drivers at their peak that raced well past their prime. And I remember, you know, people kind of putting them down thinking, man, they should have quit, you know, at their peak. And why are they still racing? And, you know, and I got to thinking about it, you know, they enjoy racing. The thrill of driving a race car is still there. Who are we to say,
absolutely,
you should have quit when you were ahead or when you were still somebody? Who are we to say that?
Yeah,
you know,
they got to
guy,
just run until they feel good.
like Sammy Swindell, you know, I saw on Twitter the other night or a week or so ago, you know, the All-Stars are here, the Outlaws are here, everything. and he was running up in New England somewhere, I think one of the asphalt midgets or something, and won a heat or something like that.
Yep.
Had his picture taken, and you know, he's 66 or something,
Yeah.
and he likes racing, you know, and who are we to say he should quit? You know, if he's having fun, you know, more power to him.
Well, there's another great example. We talked about him earlier on. A guy that debuts his colour scheme, his new paint scheme every year. You know, it's always exciting to see which colour the white number 4 is going to look, because Danny Smith never changes his paint scheme. But Danny's a great example, Brad, like of exactly what we're talking about. He just, what does he say? I'm too honest to steal, and I'm too lazy to get a real job. So
He told me he was just going to run half miles only, but I think he changed it, or quarter miles.
Yeah, quarter miles.
I think he changed his mind already, but that's all right.
He's probably the winningest driver in Australia in mainstream races. He won the Classic a lot of times. Him and Gary Rush used to go after it. So Danny is absolutely loved in our country in particular. But what a cool cat.
Yeah. Talk about laid back. Him and Jack are probably the two most laid back sprint car drivers that I've ever known.
I think first time I met, I'm pretty sure first time I met Danny was at Mansfield, I think, at a race, and he had plastic over his boots, and he had them tied up with rubber bands or something, and I'm like, what the heck's that? And I'm looking at that, and I think he said, I'm driving for Nickel Brothers and it's throwing oil. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I know what that's for. So I'm pretty sure that was Danny.
Yeah.
I was at Attica in 96, I'm going to say, and suddenly the sky went green and there was a siren going off, and I'm this goofy Aussie going, what's happening? And I see Danny Smith walk past me and goes, it's a tornado. He went and got in his race car and strapped in. And he said, I figure I'm the safest I could be.
About as safe as you can be.
Put your helmet on, strap in, and if that tornado picks that race car up, it's going to be the biggest flip you ever took. But hopefully you ride it out.
How many races of Brad's did you do? How many Brad Doty Classics did you race in?
Oh, quite a few of them. I think I only got one of them. I think
you got one.
I think I had one at Attica and it got away from me, but I raced quite a few of them.
Yeah,
it was at Attica, and then where else was it?
Lima.
Lima.
You were there a lot.
Yep. So.
I think that's where you won it, was Lima.
Yeah,
I'd
it
have
might
to
have
look
been a Lima
myself,
one.
but there was a couple years ago. Well, Sheldon was in the '93 car.
Yep.
I don't know how many years ago it was now, and he had a straightaway lead at the Brad Doty Classic with less than 10 laps to go.
Oh.
And that would have been the first father-son to win.
Oh.
I actually pulled up beside him on a red that night, and I think I was running second or third, and I pulled up beside him on a red, and I'm like, I told him to calm down, there's nobody going to catch you, because I was running there and I couldn't catch him. I pulled right up beside him on the red flag, and I said, calm down. I said, you're fine. And he said, oh, I am. And 2 laps later, he did the big endo right in front of me.
Is that what it was? I remember him, you know, he wasn't going to look, he was so far ahead, you know, he was just had to ride it out, and a caution or a red came out and bunched the field back.
I'm laughing at the irony of this. So let's say you're Sheldon's age and your old man rolls up alongside you under a red and says, Jack, take it easy, man. You got this in the bag. Would you have done what Sheldon did?
I probably would have.
That's exactly right.
Basically the same thing.
That's what people love about you, mate. You know, I think that's what people love is he's worth the price of admission.
Win or wear it. Win it or wear it.
Every time. Yeah. I mean, I saw you race Eldora at 92 with the Eldon car. It changed my life, Brad. Watching him run around Eldora, I just went, this can't be happening. And I think the only guy I could compare him to was Dave Blaney. Was pretty handy in that Viver and Casey Luna Ford around there too. But that Eldon car, the shirts, the way you ran that place, like that was life changing, Brad.
Dave Blaney, Wolfgang, and Jack probably the best at running Eldora, the smoothest.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen him do things at Eldora that just blew my mind. You know,
Same.
Obviously he's won a lot of big races there. Took a lot of money out of that place, but just running through traffic and running the wall the way he did, and just, I mean, the crowd always, you know, going crazy.
Jack.
But then the reason for that is because of the wild child moves that he would make, you know. And just
a lot of
pretty
fun.
impressive.
A lot of people compare Sheldon and Jack, which is unfair because they were 2 different eras, Jack, right? A different style of driving, a different car, different racetracks.
Right.
Your cars weren't glued down to the racetrack anywhere near as much as they are now. So it's unfair to make that comparison.
Yeah, it's all different now.
I think he's done a lot more racing to this point in his life than you probably did at that point in your life too.
I'm sure.
Who do you think? Who do you think has the what qualities are the same, Brad, in them? I mean, they're both fearless, right? He inherited that.
They're definitely both fearless. I'd say Sheldon is, and I just brought this up the other day to someone. Sheldon used to be pretty much top dominant. Jack was always known for that.
Yep.
Sheldon, I don't know whether it's consciously or the racetracks, the cars, as you said, they're so much more glued to the racetrack today with the shocks and even maybe arguably the tires. But Sheldon has gotten way better in the last couple of years about running the bottom, being smooth, running both pedals. And I think Jack would agree with that too. That you weren't always.
Damn it!
I agree. Yeah,
smarter,
a little smarter than I was, I'm sure.
Well, you weren't always the most patient to try to run the bottom, and it takes patience. And
it does.
Sheldon is starting to get that patience to where he's searching around the racetrack and does a really good job.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for the reputation you had at Eldora, he's Peevely. Like Sheldon is just unbelievable around Peevely. And it's a bull ring and it's banked, right?
It's a lot like Eldora. I always thought it was a little Eldora to me. So.
Can you imagine him at Syracuse?
I hope I don't have to watch that.
I mean, was that scary? Was Syracuse scary? You ran there too, Brad, didn't you?
Yeah, we Brad ran it. Yeah, we ran it.
You had the little scoops down the front ends and stuff to trap the air.
Body work. We didn't have a lot of body work on them, but we used to go straight from Chico, California. I bet we did it 3 or 4 years, straight from Chico to Syracuse.
Yeah, the drivers and teams complained today about the schedule and crisscrossing. We would be in California, literally tow all the way to Syracuse, New York for one weekend, turn around and go back to the West Coast to finish the swing out there. Year after year, we had to do that. In those days, a lot of them were open trailers, little dual pickup trucks, no big buses and motorhomes.
They started putting more bodies and aerodynamic stuff on the cars for the miles, but they didn't really seem to help it that much. Just standard old cars seemed to go around there just good.
Best I ever felt there was in Stanton's.
Yeah.
Plain old Jane, number 75, same top, big old thick belly top
Lee
wing.
Osborne came out one year and he had little wings on the front of his tires.
Oh yeah,
oh wow.
Wings he built.
Like
and Lee Osborne, I mean, he built as nice a race car as anybody, and he said that thing steered like a slot car. Actually, it was just too darty. But Lee Osborne used to build some nice stuff.
Sammy always came up with some pretty tricks.
Oh yeah, he's still an innovator.
Yeah.
I think he loves the science more than the actual competition sometimes.
Yeah. Dave Blaney's doing that to this day.
Yeah, Dave likes that.
He runs some unique chassis and stuff of his own design.
Do you ever sit down and think, boy, we did okay, us old friends from Apple Creek and Worcester, when you washed the car as I mean, wow, what a life, Brad. I mean, it cost you more than most.
Yeah, and people have asked me that, and I wouldn't change a thing, I guess, put it that way. It's taken away a lot from me, but it's also given me a lot too. Racing has, and we, for the four of us to come from Lakeville to make it to the level that we didn't make it to NASCAR, but some compared it to four high school football players going on to high-ranked college ball, maybe, to make it to that level. We all four made it, well, Ed, his older brother, started this whole mess, and he was probably better than any of us. Yeah. He was the best mechanic driver of all of us.
Yeah, he was a lot like Wolfgang.
He could do it all. He could fix, and he fixed our cars when we crashed or something would break.
Gee, you would have been busy on this one a few times, I would think, right? No judgment, but he might have replaced a few front ends back in the day.
But I think Ed could have been just as good in one big race as he chose to have a quote normal life, and only race, more. He walked away from it several times.
Yeah,
and went back and ran weekly
I
stuff.
don't think
and
he liked
fun.
traveling.
Yeah. So, but for the rest, for us, Kenny and Jack and I to get to that level, it's pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah.
Oh, that picture up there! I just love that picture of you at Knoxville there, waving to the fans, like.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and what Rico did for you too, man. Like running that car when he painted up in the Eldon car, and
it was nice. Rico let me drive for him in California and hired me to go on some races on the road, and always treated me great.
We're never going to let you forget all those amazing things, right? You're never going to be just some old guy sitting on the porch out the front when I pulled up, okay?
Yeah.
When he said to me, you want to go and visit Jack? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Glad you showed up.
So don't forget, mate, all right? Both of you don't forget, because we won't.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest years of my life was watching You get around Eldora, and even him get around Eldora back in the day when Steve Evans. Now that's something you must look back on forever with pride. That was Steve Evans announcing your laps around Eldora. Like, and I remember how emotional his voice was.
Yeah.
You know, and he said, and he thumbed it. You know, like I remember hearing the words, and he got up alongside that pace car and thumbed it, and his voice broke, and I was like, boy, that's a lot of emotion. Poor Laurie, she couldn't speak. It was Dave Reef, I think, that interviewed to just bring closure to your life, and
it was a long pause, and her voice. Seeing my daughter at the time, who was about 12
crying,
or 13, her oldest daughter, tears running down her cheeks. Just a real quick story on that. You know, I didn't realize how important it was to everybody else. It was a selfish thing for me. I wanted to make one more lap on my own terms at that racetrack, and we were doing a live broadcast. I was up in the booth. They got me down out of the booth. I got in my van, put my fire suit on, did those pace laps, got back up in the booth and finished calling the main event with my fire suit still on. But till I saw the video later, I could see the people around the racetrack a little bit, but I was focused on live TV. They had a microphone. And until I saw it later, did I realize that how important it was to
we
other
had
people.
all 4 or 5 cars.
yeah, you pulled up alongside him, right, and bumped him, and Sammy bumped you, didn't he?
Yeah. But the moral of this story is that I was out in Chico, California, and not to stereotype anybody, because I talked about the long hair, but this big biker dude, all tattooed up, and he come up to me signing autographs, and he said, man, he said, I got to tell you, he said, when you made those laps at Eldora, he said, I was on the verge of breaking down. He said, when they showed your daughter crying, he said, I cried like a baby. And here's this big burly biker dude, you know, saying, and that really brought it home to me what it meant to other people.
You know, as much as the race cars are cool, and my favorite is definitely the 22, it's about people. The beautiful part about our sport is people. It's about you watching your kid go on and take on the world's best on both sides of the planet. It's about you promoting races. It's about Kenny now every weekend with his grandson, with Lee racing, with Kendra involved with Flo. You know what I mean?
All the friends you meet along the way. There's so many, I can't even remember half of them anymore. It's been so long, but all the friends you meet, for sure.
Friends are the family we choose for ourselves, boys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting me come out, mate. Thanks for bringing me.
No problem.
Thanks for letting me come out. Not that you had any choice. I'm like, Jack.
Anytime.
Good to see you, mate.
Anytime.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
58.
I'll take that.